Good day, goeiedag, fellow South Africans. And we have the elephant in the room. It's called Zimbabwe. I'll be attaching to this intro a video about how totally destitute Zimbabwe is right now. But before I do, I have some news. As someone who's traveled South Africa widely, and back in the 1980s, I went and had dinner at the Durban Club, which is in the Esplanade in Durban, in Kwazulu Natal. And back then, their maximum membership was 3,000 members. And I'll just give you a bit of the history of the Durban Club, because we need to keep this in context, and you'll see why. Okay, what actually happened was that the Durban Club was set up in the 1850s, and it was started off as like a croquet club, but it had this amazing piece of land, built this amazing club. I'll put a link to the Durban Club in a moment. But back in the 1980s, when I used to go there with my dad, and my dad's close friend actually was the manager of the Durban Club back then, a fellow of the name of De Haaf. But they had a waiting list that would take members 20 years to get into the Durban Club. That's how popular it was. And some of the early members included Cecil Rhodes, Winston Churchill, Jan Smuts. The membership of that club was extraordinary. Now, when I went back there in 2007, the club had sold off most of the building to a Zimbabwean doctor. The name I can't remember, but I do have a photo of her, and I might link that photo so you can see. But she was actually a front for one Robert Mugabe. Now, before we go on to Robert Mugabe, let's go back to the Durban Club. Because of the deteriorating situation in Durban, because of the carjackings and the crime rising in central Durban, the membership of that club had fallen to just 300 members. And they had retreated up to the first floor where they had held their weekly meetings and stuff like that. But the membership was dropping badly. Now, the reason I'm talking about the Durban Club and its colonial background is because Robert Mugabe actually bought the Durban Club. And the information I've received today is that one Robert Mugabe is actually living now at the Durban Club in Durban, in his little mansion that he bought from the Durban Club members, i.e. this whole colonial history. It was about 15 years ago now that he bought it. And that's where he's seeking refuge, in Durban, in Natal, in South Africa. And let's get back to the video at hand. This is his legacy you're going to look at now. Zimbabwe in chaos. They have no food. They have no petrol. Cars are just stuck on the side of the streets when they run out of petrol. The people are just starving to death. And this is a huge warning in two ways. Because the first way is that if South Africa goes down the route of expropriating land without compensation, they can expect starvation 10, 15 years down the track, okay? And you got a much bigger population that have now congregated from the north into South Africa. And the other thing is that the politicians like the Malemas and the Zumas and the Cyril Ramaphosas are going to be multi-millionaires. And they will have estates outside South Africa where they've been able to move money and do things like that. That's what they're doing right now. You have to look no further than Zuma's residence in Kwazulu Natal to see the level of corruption that is going on and how when we get back to this video, which is coming on right now, how the poor, deceived voter is starving to death. This is the new Africa? Give me a break. And let's hope Black Monday for the minority groups in South Africa is a huge success, because it's about time people like Malema and Cyril Ramaphosa and that asshole from the BLF were put in their place. And I think that King Zwelithini from the Zulus could be a huge strategic partner for the minority groups, including the whites in South Africa. Now, I've rambled on too much. Watch the video, enjoy the video, and see how the Africans in Zimbabwe live today. It's quite shocking. And don't forget to subscribe to be kept informed. Take care, guys.
The queues are getting longer at petrol pumps in Zimbabwe, but only a few are able to actually fill up. Everyone else is running out of fuel and patience.
I'm tired, I'm angry, and I think somebody should be made accountable. In this case, our government.
Store shelves have been cleared out and restaurants are closed. The few shops that still have bread, sugar and other stock are rationing supplies. And those who've managed to buy groceries today are worried about tomorrow.
Prices are ridiculous, they are too much. And ordinary men like me, from the street, I don't think in the next week or so I can afford it.
Zimbabwe depends on imports for fuel and much of its food, but it's running out of foreign currency and the shortages are sending prices spiraling.
We have a disease in the country called fiscalitis. This is the disease of a government just spending money as if money grows on trees. Now we've got domestic debt that is bigger than external debt. Now we've got a budget deficit that is over 30% of GDP. So we have to cut expenditure.
The country's foreign exchange reserves have dropped to less than $200 million. Most people have been using dollars for purchases, but the government's announced a move back to local currency known as bond notes. And it's imposed a 2% tax on all electronic payments that have gained popularity as managing large wads of cash have become difficult because of runaway inflation. The new tax has sent tempers flaring. The government's banned public gatherings, saying they could worsen a cholera outbreak that's already claimed dozens of lives. But the country's biggest labor unions are threatening to strike, setting them on a collision course with the government, just as the wheels seem to be coming off the economy. Mubin Nasir, TRT World.
And Mobin caught up with Zimbabwe's Minister for Industry and Commerce at the Turkey-Africa Business Forum here in Istanbul and began by asking him what the government's doing to address the crisis.
We had a domestic debt that was becoming a bit unsustainable, and the Treasury took a decision to also reach out to the electronic money transfers. Our economy is almost 80 to 85% informalized. That means 80 to 85% of our sector is not paying tax, if I may put it from a layman point of view. And we are therefore reaching out to be able to raise financing so that we address the domestic debt that is ballooning. This is very critical in order to jumpstart our economic recovery and also to improve confidence from our potential international investors. On the investment front as well, investments in the near future will be approved in less than 24 hours. And we are also moving aggressively to protect the properties of our investors.
At the moment, Zimbabwe is relying on a basket of currencies. What plans do you have to reintroduce a local currency?
And we are using the US dollar more than other currencies. It is quite heavy. Our products are failing to compete if we want to export because of the high value of the US dollar against regional currencies. So it's an option that we will explore quite closely. We may need to look at our economic fundamentals before we introduce our local currency. but it is very critical that in the medium term we consider having our own currency.
Your government has launched a new stabilization program. What are its key components and what does it aim to accomplish?
Currently, we'll be focusing on improving our production capacity, manufacturing sector, our agriculture as well. We wish to assist our companies with the retooling. We are here as part of the strategy to also invite Turkish investors.
So what would be your message then lastly for international investors, traders, business people who might be looking at the country?
The starting point, Zimbabwe is open for business. We have vast opportunities in Zimbabwe, from agriculture to mining, tourism, infrastructure, construction, and Turkey in particular can be a partner in all these sectors. So in the next 2 to 3 years, we will be able to substitute imports where currently we are importing particularly wheat and soya beans. From there, we wish to retool to capacitate our manufacturing sectors to be able to produce competitive products. Zimbabwe is indeed open for business and their investments will be very safe in Zimbabwe.
Okay, so you've seen what a mess Zimbabwe is in. Now, the video that follows, it's quite a lengthy video, but it gives you a good idea about the history of the Durban Club and where Robert Mugabe is now living in refuge, according to my sources. Now, this video I took when I was in South Africa in 2011. This is after the Durban Club sold off the majority, in fact the whole building, to Mugabe's front, and they now lease a little piece on the first floor of the same building. Okay, here it is. It's the 5th of October and it's a Wednesday, and I'm in the entrance, or the old entrance to the Durban Club, and you can see the magnificent timber work that they've got here, and the initials DC carved into the timber above the entrance. And this was obviously the place that was the exclusive club of the gentlemen like Cecil Rhodes and Winston Churchill. And right next to the entrance is this very interesting caricature of the new owner, and you can see in the bin is one of the old white gentlemen, and in her hands is now the new leadership, which is obviously her when she's older. And it reflects who now owns this magnificent building, the Durban Club. And the secretary is now an African gentleman, which is fine. But some of the old furniture that they've got in the adjoining Durban Manor, which also used to belong to the Durban Club, is now starting to be ruined by obviously people who misuse it when they're staying here. But have a look at these ornate ceilings in this building. This was South African grandeur at its greatest. I mean, you look at those balustrades and look at that ceiling. That's that famous dome that you can see from the Victoria Esplanade in Durban, of the Durban Club. What I'm going to do now is take a bit of a tour around the area that this Zimbabwean lady now has bought, and she's bought it on behalf of Robert Mugabe, which would really please Cecil Rhodes and his mates a lot. Another one of his exquisite bits of furniture you can see here. And there's a picture of her hanging on the wall. As you go up this old grand staircase, you would have seen, as I say, people like Rhodes and Churchill in the past coming up. And as we get to the top, we can see that there is a Jan Smuts room, and that door I've tried and is locked, so we can't go in there anymore. I'm going to try this door. Oh, bugger, it's locked too. What a shame. So where we aren't able to go is, so here again is the magnificent main entrance of the main entrance area of the Durban Club. And it's kind of broken into two parts now. You can see that area there is now leased to the Durban Club behind that door. Apparently where I couldn't get in just now is also the area leased back to the Durban Club, and that's why you can't get in there either. I'm inside the gents' toilet. I won't tell you what I'm doing, but this is in the section bought by the Zimbabwean doctor, and you can see there's not much maintenance going on even in the toilet, although it is clean, I will confess. How's that for a no smoking sign? Here you have it at the Durban Club. Oh, look at that door, just starting to come apart at the seams. Oh yeah, look at the ceiling, so sad. What would Winston Churchill have said? He probably sat here once. I'm now in the old Durban Club, which still belongs to the Durban Club, and you can see the difference in the way things are maintained here immediately. It's all beautifully maintained and respected. Fascinating old seat there. It's a Wayne chair, believe it or not. Very old, dating back to 1904. And going up the stairs more, you can see some of the old pictures that date way back in the history of this club. And Derek de Haaf, 1974 to 88, who I knew very well. One of the secretaries of the club. So, the Durban Club today, how many members has it got?
Just over 300.
Just over 300 members. And you're not getting more members at all?
No, not very slow, you know.
Yeah.
For this year, we've had 2 new members.
In the whole year?
Yes, yeah, so far.
And what, 20 years ago, you had a waiting list of about 20 years, didn't you, to get in?
Yes.
And how many members did you have 20 years ago?
20 years ago, well, that was before my time, but from the time I was here, I mean, we had like over 3,000 members.
3,000 members. And you've been here how long?
20 years.
So you've been here 20 years. They had over 3,000 members. They've only got 10% of that left now. And what's the main reason for that?
Well, I think it's, you know, the area we're situated, that's a CBD.
In Durban?
In Durban.
Yeah.
And also, you know, the younger generation doesn't want to belong to, you know, clubs like these anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've moved out to Mhlanga Rocks and other places, have they?
Yes, yeah.
So they find it probably too dangerous to come into Durban at night?
Yes, and people go where they live. There's bars, restaurants.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's sad, isn't it? So I believe the club has actually been sold off to a Zimbabwean doctor.
In 2003, yes.
And now what's happening is that you lease back just this portion?
Yes, a 99-year lease.
Yeah.
Got,
yeah. And then after that, I take it they'll just own the club, will they?
Well, I mean, 99 years is a long time.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a long time.
Yeah. Not all of us are going to be here.
No, but the club's 150 years old now.
Yes, yeah.
So that's in the history. It's only about 40% of its history. Wow. So how many people now work in the Durban Club full time?
Full time, that's myself, Mickey, Dennis. 5 of us.
5 of you.
Yes.
And do you still have the waiter, the African waiter who does the dinners?
Alfred.
Yeah, Alfred.
Now he's retired.
Oh, okay, because he was here forever, wasn't he?
Yes, he was here 33 years.
Yeah, because I rang your doorbell last night just after 5 and there was no one here.
Yeah, the barman waits after, I mean, we didn't have anybody for lunch yesterday.
Okay.
So the barman sits up there till, I mean, I leave here at 4:30.
Yeah.
Around there, and then he waits there till about 5. If nobody comes,
he goes.
He goes, locks up because he sits there waiting for nothing.
And 30 years ago, you'd have had 200 people in here every night, wouldn't you?
Yes, downstairs, and we had the long bar. People would come in after work for a drink.
Yeah. And so that's now owned by the Zimbabwean doctor, that area?
Yes.
And the entrance, and you've just got this little piece upstairs.
That's right.
Wow. Ooh, not good, is it?
No.
Yeah. So, do they ever talk about the future, what they're going to do, or?
Well, the chairman. I mean, they're always putting it in the newsletter to members.
Yeah, to get more people.
Yes, yeah. Support the club. And
yeah.
If you want the club to carry on, yes.
Yeah. That's sad. All right. Thank you very much, Selvin.
Thank you. Did you get in okay at Durban Manor?
Yes, we did. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
The internet was a problem, but we got it going eventually.
Is it?
Yeah. So this is the Durban Club admin area.
Yes.
Did you know Derek de Haaf?
Yes, yeah. I just came in at that time when he was here.
He was a very good friend of ours.
Is it?
Yeah, we knew him very well because he was from Kenya.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, here I am in the old Durban Club, and the first thing I'd like to draw your attention to are these magnificent cornices. This is the old smoking room, I guess you'd call it. It's a lounge, but as I go around the room, look at those cornices, aren't they magnificent? They go all the way around. And underneath you can see the dining area. I've had a few meals there, and the meals at the Durban Club are fantastic. Unfortunately, we couldn't get in last night because there was no one here. But look at the elegance of this place. This is elegant dining, and no one ever comes here. I spent the equivalent of about $100 here in 2006 when I entertained some friends from South Africa. There were 10 of us, and it cost me the equivalent of about $150 Australian. That's about $15 a head, including liquor, full course meals, and yet we're the only people here on that evening. And since then it's got even worse, as Selvin mentioned. Look at the view. There's the old Durban Club, the view from the Durban Club, the old sailing harbour, and of course the Victorian Bankman down below, and there's the entrance to the Durban Club. And if we go around a bit more in this amazing historic place, you can see the grand curtains. It's still beautifully maintained here. I'll see if I can get in this door. Yeah, there we are. And here we have another very formal dining room with some historic photos. These are life members from 1988. And that's a club in 1904, believe it or not. How good is that? You can see the people dressed up in their old gear from those days. And Akat was the chairman. You have a few sirs in there, Livingstons. But this is a very formal dining room in here. Look at that. It's just, and look at everything is just so beautifully maintained. Even their library here. Books on Mountbatten. Jeez. It's such a shame to see all this just been neglected. You know, it's just beautiful old stuff. Books and books and books. Mainly about history, I guess, and the military. A very strong military influence here at the club. Yeah, look at that. Just tons of beautiful old books. And the paintings on the wall, these are all original paintings. And again, have a look at the cornices in this room. Just stunning. Very, very high ceilings. Look at that cornice. And the fireplace. And the ceiling. Look at that. Holding the light up. Churchill and Rhodes and all his mates would have walked around here. They've actually got rooms named after both of them. These are just more old photos. Very old photos of the military side of things. Through here, we can have a look at that area I was trying to get to from the other side when I was down there. Now here's the irony. Down there is the area which is not leased by the Durban Club, which is now run by this Zimbabwean lady, or owned by the Zimbabwean lady. And on that cartoon that you can see from the Durban Club leased area is a picture of her with a white fella in the trash can, and her now holding the empire of the Durban Club. The irony of that. What would Churchill, and here's a Churchill room. What would old Churchill say about that, I wonder? And here we are in the Churchill room. An old picture of Winston Churchill. And these books here. Oh my God. These are the 1915 collection of Sir Winston Churchill. Worth absolute fortune. Look at that. Beautiful. In absolutely immaculate condition. Absolutely immaculate condition. The complete works. War speeches. Second World War. Post-war speeches. And so on. Marlborough. Wow. And I know they have letters signed by Winston Churchill in here, and this might be it. Here we are. This is a it's a photostat copy of a letter dated 1900, written by Churchill to Churton Collins, the then editor of the Natal Mercury. Now, I know they have these original letters, but obviously they've put a photocopy of it up in here. Dunkirk to Berlin. Churchill with some other fellows. But these beautiful rooms, I mean, what a boardroom. It just never gets used today. It's just wasted, completely wasted. And with 300 members, with only a few people coming in the evenings, sometimes during the week, it's a tragedy. And, you know, the condition everything is kept in here, again, look at those cornices. The condition everything is kept in here on the Durban Club side is immaculate. And then I look at the other side. Remember those toilets I was in just now? It's just a disgrace. And from this top area, just below the dome of the Durban Club, I'm in the Durban Club's leased area. You can see the new owner of the building, the Zimbabwean lady. It's very strange. Look at the cornices above her head. Again, this stunning building, now owned by Robert Mugabe. And yet another room in the Durban Club. I'm not sure who this is named after, but look at that beautiful table. What a great dining room setting. And more pictures and clocks hanging from the walls and stuff like that. That must be Jan Smuts, I suppose. This must be the Jan Smuts room, I think. But so much history here, you can smell it. You can really smell it. Who is this? Yeah, Jan Smuts. And these are original letters. This one says, "My dear Churchill, John said to somebody else, we will fear the empire and threads and Tatton. South Africa's forces have helped to something me. I am sending in a booklet telling you how we did it. Yours, Jan Smuts." And that's just hanging on a wall here in this room. And here's some more letters by Jan Smuts. Box 1081 Pretoria, my dear Graham. Signed Jan Smuts. This letter to Sir Thomas Lyndon Graham. The Attorney General is about amnesty granted to the rebels. Oh, and here's the letter here, what it actually says. I'll just put that up for a second so you can still that and have a look. It talks about German Southwest Africa and so on. And there's another letter up here, also by Smuts. Fabulous. Before leaving the Durban Club, I just wanted to take this last poignant look at the new bar of the Durban Club, and this is where the few members that left come and join and have a drink. And you can see these old guns on the walls, and this very historic little drum that's been probably struck by some very famous people in the past, and it's used to call the meetings to order at the Durban Club, and now it just sits here in the bar. There you go. I've actually struck the little drum. And another little room overlooking the bay. Pictures and more silverware. Absolutely beautiful stuff here. It really is beautiful. You know what this is? Oh, this is one of the first bills of lading, talking about Lord Nelson and stuff like that. Drop me at the Durban Club, my good man. And this is an interesting little note to the manager of the Durban Club back then. Dear Mr. McLean, we all wish to thank you most sincerely for not only allowing us to have the dinner tonight, but also for putting up with the atrocious, boisterous noise so sportingly, and is signed by Lord Louis Mountbatten, amongst a whole lot of other people, and it's dated 25th of February 1920, midnight. How cute is that? A bit of a naval theme as you come into the Durban Club, and you can see all these different insignia for boats like the HMS Ceylon and HMS Revenge, and all these different boats from all over the world who have their little plaques on the wall at the Durban Club. And there, for example, is the HMS Suffolk. And this is on the stairwell as you come up the stairs into the main area. And on the boards here you have the chairman of the Durban Club through all the years, going back to 1863. And I'll just catch that for posterity. Just scrolling down. Quite a few chairmen. And finally down here we have the secretaries of the Durban Club, including of course Derek de Haaf, which I've talked about earlier.